Hello everyone, Dark of All Trades here. Now, today I'm going to have a talk with modern atheism. Looks like we're going to do a little bit of an interview. We're going to talk about my channel, and we're going to talk about counterapologetics and my takes on a lot of things like that. So for now, I'm just going to hang out and waiting for some people to show up. Chip, hello. This is my first time doing a live, so I hope things go well. Good to see you. I'm going to try to figure out how this works. So please don't judge me too harshly for not knowing about this. I wonder if I can, yeah, here we go. I can do comments. I can show comments too. Hey, howdy. It's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, if you guys have any questions or want to ask me anything at any time, send me a chat, send me a super chat, send me a regular message. I don't care how you do it. Just send me something. I like to talk to people. We're going to see how this works. I'm going to let modern atheism know. We got about a half hour before he shows up. So, hey, we got some time. Whatever you guys want to do. I received my first referral click. All right, sure. I don't know what that means, but I'll take it. Sure. Chip, I can totally understand. And you know what? I'm not good with the technical stuff either. Like you see my stuff, it's literally a glorified PowerPoint presentation. So the idea is to just start somewhere. You know, is that what you want? Like if you want to make content, find something you want to talk about and just write a script. My first scripts were not good. So although I did watch one, I guess it's been a couple months. I watched some of my earlier videos to remind myself about some people that I had responded to early on. And I was just listening to my voice and how monotone I sounded. And I'm like, well, I'm not wrong. It's just kind of boring, I'd say, compared to what I do now. There's a lot more inflection, and I've kind of gotten to my groove on how I do things, although I still talk very fast, and I still had to slow myself down. Hi, Chris. Good to see you. I do read all of your comments, even the long ones, I promise. They give me something to think about, definitely. Whether I agree or not is a whole nother story, but they are kind of fun to read and kind of decipher what you're talking about and see how it relates to what I already believe. Hey, no worries at all. I do a lot of reading already, and I read literally every comment. Yeah, see, I don't even do PowerPoint, Chip. This isn't even PowerPoint. Like, I'm not that good. I mean, I've done PowerPoint presentations before for college classes and things like that, and I have to do them when I do some of my lessons when I teach. But what I use is basically Windows Movie Maker, and I make the stills like the one you see here on your screen. I make that still, and I add all the visuals I want onto that still, and I just time when the still changes. So I make all the stills, and then I record my voice, or the other way works too. And when I have it all set, I go to Windows Movie Maker and I just organize them in a row of how long I want to, or of how many visuals I'm going to have during the course of the video. And then I load up my soundtrack, my audio file, and I just play it. And my intro takes 3 seconds. When I go, hello everyone, Dark of All Trades here, it takes 3 seconds. And then it changes to the screen that you see here. And then when I'm ready to see the next picture, I just go, okay, it's going to be like 23 seconds until I need the next thing. 23 seconds. So this picture stays on screen for 23 seconds. And then it just goes to the next one. And I just said however long it needs to be, and it goes to the next one. And then however long it needs to be, and then it goes to the next one. And I do my video as a standalone video. And then I have another program, another free program, VSDC Maker. And when I get into that, I can cut my video up into the segments, and then I can cut the video that I'm responding to up into the segments where I need it to start playing and stop playing. And from there, I just splice them together, and I can add GIFs on top, or other videos can get spliced in, or other images can get put on, or other audio, and I just kind of time it all. And it takes a while. It takes a while to get everything up, and like one video, start to finish, probably takes me about 8 hours of just work, start to finish. Like finding the video, watching the first 30 seconds or so, deciding if I want to respond to it, and then playing the video and pausing it. Yeah, I'm 100% certain. It's way more basic than it sounds. I promise. I mean, if an idiot like me can figure it out, anybody can figure it out. But yeah, that's just how I do it. That's just the process, some behind the scenes process. But yeah, literally do street epistemology. I mean, worst case scenario, just record yourself talking to somebody and just record the conversation. Even if it's not, even if you're not on camera, it's just getting the audio up and then just putting some pictures up, like, or not putting pictures up, just using an avatar that you like, and say, this is me talking to this person, if you have permission to use their name, or me talking to some random guy on the street, and then see what people think. And people who do like it will react. Like I'm gonna have to check. I'm gonna look up my first videos. I have not done a show about televangelists, and I can understand why you recognize or despise materialism, Chris, which is fine. Not everyone likes it. I'm a materialist myself because that's just what makes sense to me. Oh yes, I mean, if you have to, Chip, if you've got your own, medical field work, yeah, I'm not. I wouldn't. You don't need to push yourself if you don't really, really want to, because it really is a labor of love. You really have to like what you're doing, just to even get content out. Like getting up to one video a week is so much work. On top of my teaching job, on top of my second job, on top of my third job, because teaching does not pay well. And so, yeah, I make time to get content up. Yeah. Yeah, if you can work with Durante, yeah. I don't know him, but he seems really nice in all the videos I've seen from him. In Bridge City Project. I don't know the Bridge City Project, but do it. I know that we need more voices in our community, because as strange as it might seem, especially here on YouTube, there are a lot of closet atheists, people who see stuff like what I do and what Durante and what people do on the line or the atheist experience, and that helps them get confidence in that they're doing something right, that they're not broken, they're not strange or wrong because they don't believe. And that's one of the reasons why I started making content myself, is because I wanted to bring education out to the world. But I'm sitting here with my corgi right now. I'm drinking a little bit of water. I just got off one of my other jobs, so I'm a little tired. 10-hour shifts, but yep, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with starting your own channel and putting out content that you agree with, because because one of the best ways to find out if you're wrong is to post stuff on the internet, and people will correct you. I've been very fortunate that a lot of things that I post, I do a lot of research. Corgis are awesome. Corgis are considered medium size, and normally they're around 20 to 25 pounds. My dog is 46 pounds of muscle. He is giant for a corgi. I call him the Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson of corgis. He has never chased sheep. Not a lot of sheep where I live, more pigs, but he doesn't. He's chased chickens. He's chased other dogs. He's chased cats. But not a lot of chasing. He more herds. Like if I'm on a leash walking with somebody else, which doesn't happen super often, but he likes to wrangle us. So if we're kind of separated, he will come grab us. Yeah. 45 pounds. He's also much longer and a little taller. He still has the really short legs. Like the legs are still proportionate to a corgi, but he is considerably longer. And the vet says he's in good shape, because the vet said, told me that as long as you can see the dip around the hips, but you can't see the rib cage, then he's in good shape. Yes, he's definitely heavier than the average corgi. Yeah, a short snickerdoodle. I wanted to get him a Wonder Bread bag and put it on him for Halloween or something like that, and he could be a loaf, one loafy boy. Right on. Dogs are awesome. Do you take your dogs out on anything other than a walk, Chip? Yeah, corgis are pretty great. Hello, Modern Atheism. As you see, I was able to get the stream live. Yes, corgis shed a lot. Like I can't keep up. I brush him almost every day still, and there's just fur all around my house. I don't know if there is a way. No, I don't want to ban you. No actual hunting. That's disappointing. Working dogs, and I do feel bad about that I don't give him enough to wrangle or herd. Let's see. Let's see if I can do this. Invite guest. Let's see if this does anything. I'm working on that right now, actually, Modern Atheism. So let's see. I'll just copy the link. So I'll just post it in the chat here. Give me just a moment. And you can stream to your own destination. I can't do that. Upgrade your plan. I don't want to upgrade my plan. Let's see if this works. Here, I'll send it here. Modern Atheism, see if this works. So try that and see if it works. And we'll hang out and chat for a bit. Dan, I appreciate that. Traveling home, you better be safe. You better not be driving and texting. I'm glad to see we've already got 7 viewers, which is more than I was anticipating, this early on. They just saw me live and they're like, oh, Dark's live. I might as well check out the live chat. Yeah. Chris, do it. Do a video on how much the Roman influences are in the Bible. There's a ton, especially New Testament. Not a lot Old Testament. Not there's zero. One could argue that there's Roman influence everywhere in the Bible, nearly. Especially with the Romanization, we'll say, using Roman characters in the English language. That's a joke, guys. English jokes. I've got dad jokes. Let's see. Moderate. There we go. I'm going to add to the stage here. First of all, hey, can you hear me? I can't hear you. Let's see. I see you there. Okay, I see you. I just can't hear you yet. Nope. I got nothing. I don't have you muted. Make sure you're not muted. I got you. You need to. I can add you to the stage itself. Yeah, Chip. Just be safe. That's all I care about. Hang out. Yeah, Mr. Jesus had some good ideas and some bad ideas. Like I would be willing to grant that he probably did his best. Like granting that he existed and all the debate there, I would assume that he was just doing his best, and people at the time were doing their best. But at the time, you have some good ideas and some bad ideas. Okay, yep, I'll do that. I did see that.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, I thought I'd be able to hear you if you were backstage.
Yes, you cannot hear me. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Because you can have multiple people backstage. So if everyone talks, like maybe. Yeah. Okay. There is another modality when we get like both of us are like full screen. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Let's see if I can do like that.
Yeah. What means you want? How you want? I know, but now I don't see your image well. You can change, how you wish, right? The avatar doesn't. You don't see the. Sure. It's your choice, right?
Sure. Let's start with this for now, and let's just see how this works. If people enjoy it, people enjoy it. Like I said, we're just figuring things out. So hello.
Yeah, hello.
Yes.
Hello, everyone.
Yes. How are you? I guess this is afternoon for you. How is your afternoon?
Oh, it's fine. Yeah, it's good. It's Sunday afternoon, and I'm free tomorrow, so it's like a Saturday for me.
Oh, it's like Saturday for you? Is it a holiday tomorrow for you?
No, I have this. I work 12 hours, so I have this schedule where it's sometimes I get Mondays or Fridays free. I just work 4 days.
Oh, I see. Yeah, 4 days is very nice.
Yeah, but it's 12 hours sucks. It's not good.
Yep, I understand. Okay, I don't know if you can turn on closed captioning on this yet. This is not something I know. Let me see if there's anything
in YouTube captions, right? I think people need to do it in YouTube. Everyone. I know. Wait.
Yeah.
I think that the caption option is usually unavailable for live streams.
For live. Yep.
Yeah. I think YouTube has to process it and then he can make the captions, but he's not able to do it like in real time.
Yep. I can see that. Oh, well, but that's okay. So, yeah. Things are going on. It's a little chilly here today. I don't know. Let's just check the weather. It's about just shy of 13 degrees Celsius right now where I am. So a little cold, but it's about that time of year, I say. Let me go back to my regular comments. There we go. But yeah. So today, we're gonna talk about a few things. And of course, I noticed you've been posting a lot more now that you're a little more comfortable on camera, which is really cool. So of course, I'll want to know your thoughts on the things we talk about. So please don't make this like a straight interview with me if we can all help it. I'd like to get your thoughts and see what you think about, well, pretty much everything that we've been doing and what your experience on YouTube has been.
Yeah, I like my experience on YouTube so far. I also like to think of my channel as a Counterapologetics channel. Because what I like to do is I also do some response videos too. And I like to focus on big apologies. I like to do like people like Inspiring Philosophy or Trent Horn, or Eric Manning from Testify. I like to try to respond to the big ones, right?
Right.
Like because this is it's like a new apologetic wave, right? That is,
Sure.
and I like to show that skeptics have responses to those, right?
Sure. Yep.
And
I get some comments. Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
Oh, see. No, I like your approach on counter-apologetics. I was going to ask you about that, but you have anything to add here?
So finding videos is getting a little more challenging. Like, there's no shortage of content that I could respond to.
Yeah.
But I responded to William Lane Craig and Answers in Genesis, Canadian Land, and Sean McDowell, and I refuse to do Matt Powell, and I refuse to do Kent Hovind. They are the worst. But a lot of the big names I've responded to, and Red Pen Philosophy and Inspiring Philosophy and the Think Institute. I don't know how big they are, but a lot of the bigger names I've already responded to, and they're not putting out novel videos, we'll say.
Yeah, you're right.
The video I'm working on this week is, I think he's an Orthodox not rabbi. I think he's an Orthodox preacher. He's got 200 and some thousand subscribers. So I'm like, well, he's probably worth my time. And sometimes I regret my life choices. I just think, wow, this is kind of painful. But I'm working on that for this weekend, for this coming Saturday, the release. I'm actually going to be out of town, so I likely won't be in that live chat. I'm going to try, but it's unlikely that I'm going to be in that live chat because I have other things I need to get done on that day, which will be fun.
Okay.
Yeah. What if I do a reverse show? I follow a lot of atheists. Add spirituality to atheist comments. You can add your own spirituality. Like, if you see something that you like agree with, but you're not fully on board, and something that you feel like your spirituality can say something about, Chris, do it. Like, again, people on my channel, as you see, are very positive. I'm very lucky that people on my channel, in my comment section, they're not super toxic. Some of them are a little blunt, but everyone, for the most part, is really respectful. And so just put something up, and you'll get disrespectful people, but you'll also get people who want to have the conversation. So I say do it. And again, the best way to find out if you're wrong about something is to post it on the internet. So, yeah.
So, yeah.
Load up.
Oh.
Good. What do you think? So Chris is thinking about making his own content. And so what do you think about people, atheists and theists, who are in the counter-apologetic circle? What do you think about them making their own content? Do you have any advice for them?
Yeah, well, okay, I'm going to be, honestly, I think I was talking about this with you. I think it's a small niche. And
sure.
I think one has to be realistic that, you're not going to get like to a million subscribers, like in a few months. Okay, that's not going to happen. But at the same time, it is possible to be a successful YouTuber in this niche.
Sure.
Oh, sorry, I had an alarm for this talk.
For this time, that's okay.
Because it was supposed to be like in 10 minutes, right? Okay, but I have some examples of people who they can easily get to 100,000 subscribers or 50,000 subscribers, and like with fast. For example, the Orthodox Muslim. I remember last year he was like 1,000 subscribers, and somehow he made it to 50K. That's a lot. And there is another guy, a skeptic guy. I don't know. I don't have the name of the top of my head, but he also made it from 10K to 50K, like in a year. Sometimes people just explode. So it is possible. Maybe you won't get super rich. You're not going to be like a superstar, but you can definitely like turn this into a full-time job. There are many people who have achieved this. So if you have for example, that's my objective actually. It's a bit of a long-term thing, but I wish I just monetized the channel, which was great. It took me about a year, and yeah, maybe in 5 years or maybe even 10 years, I could turn this into a full-time thing if it grows well.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be great, maybe if it replaces my job. So
Right.
yeah, the advice I will give to you is basically you do have to make a lot of content. One has to make frequent content, and yeah, like every week, maybe ideally even 2 videos a week. Like maybe that's too much for some people, but or try to do at least once every 2 weeks. But a lot of content is very important for this. That's why you see successful YouTubers. When you see channels that do very well, they usually do a lot of content, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's important.
Sure.
You have to do a lot of work. That's in every area. That's general a success principle for every area. You just have to do a lot of work, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just did some number crunching and some behind the scenes. In order for me to replace my main job with YouTube, I would need 285,714 views a month. So, I mean, you divide that by 4. So, because I put out a video a week. So each video would need, about 71,500 views.
Yeah.
Qualifying views. So in order for just the ad revenue to replace my regular job.
Right.
That's a lot of views.
Yeah. But you also need to keep in mind that as you grow, for example, as you gain that views, you will also gain Patreons. So Patreon in this time, right? So you don't need to get to there, right? Because you think, okay, in the process of getting to there, I have gained some Patreons, and maybe they gain some, and maybe more people give super chats, for example. So this is not that much, right? But yeah, it can be hard to replace your job especially if you make good money from your job. I don't make a lot of money. I would be happy with 2K, really. But if you make more than that, it's very hard for this to replace your job, honestly. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, being a professional YouTuber is pretty difficult to get to.
Yes.
I post, you can see literally all of my patrons at the end of every video. Anyone that's been part of it, they get custom art, and I put it up so that with their subscription tier, so that people can say, oh, hey, these people get custom art. So if I subscribe, I'll get custom art, and maybe that'll encourage people to see themselves at the end of every video. So they're part of the dark of all trades world. And I make about the same amount from Patreon as I do from YouTube.
That's right.
So
that's pretty good. Yeah.
It's pretty good. I mean, I make about $100 a month, just to be full transparency, full behind the scenes. $100 a month is about all I make total from YouTube and Patreon combined. It's not much.
Yeah, it's not much, really.
Yeah.
But sometimes growth is like, sometimes there are channels that sometimes they explode, right? They snowball. So one has this hope sometimes, but it's it's a bit of a dream. It's not that likely. At some point, one has to be realistic. It's not so easy to achieve.
Sure. Yeah, you got to be lucky, but it's pretty much with every aspect of life. Some people will get lucky and then they'll have it easier, we'll say, or they get big fast.
Yeah,
so,
like Wes Hoff, for example, he had like 20K, and there was a big thing when he debated some famous guy, and the guy tried to sue him, and there was a big thing in the internet, and he exploded all the way to like 300,000 subscribers, right? Like out of nowhere. I mean, he got the lottery almost, right? And he was on Joe Rogan, and he became famous overnight, right? It kind of happened, but I mean, it's not.
Yeah, and that's also the benefit and drawback to sharing space. Like if you want to debate somebody, you're also platforming them and saying that this person is worth my time. So sometimes you have to be careful. This is why I don't debate people like Kent Hovind. And when he says, come debate me, give us equal time, I'd say, no, don't. No one should be debating him, because you're giving him some kind of legitimacy. This was something that I think Matt Dillahunty said about the Bill Nye versus Ken Ham debate.
Yeah.
I don't know. I remember when it came out, I watched it because that was super interesting. But Matt was very much saying that either way, Ken Ham can say, "Come give us money so we can beat these atheists," and so Bill Nye kind of legitimatized Ken Ham's answers in Genesis, kind of. I don't know. I hope Bill Nye reached more people than Ken Ham did, but I don't know for sure. Debates are interesting that way. Like the actual outcome is pretty tough to know. Even days, weeks, months after the debate, the results of how many people it reaches and how many people change their minds and how many people are entrenched in their beliefs because of the debate.
I'm not sure people change their mind like ever, honestly, to be honest. I think probably happens, right? But super rare.
Sure.
I think
yeah, I saw some formal debates where they poll the audience before and after and they see what changes happen. And I don't know the legitimacy of that because people can lie because it's self-reported, so we don't know for sure. But it is neat to see basically who made the better points. Yeah. So please go ahead.
I've also been interested trying to do like more debates. I don't know if you have seen it. I've had a couple of people in my channel for debates, like debating like the resurrection or stuff like that. I would like to make more of this in the future, but I think it's very interesting, right?
Yeah. I had somebody in the Discord talk about debates where they thought they thought I was a better debater, although they regularly go on text debates on Quora. And so I said, you shouldn't sell yourself short. You're getting practice, if nothing else. Yeah, Daremo 10. Yes, we're having a little chat here. I've never really done a live like this, so we're giving this a try and seeing what we think. I know YouTube now does co-sponsor or co-content creators videos.
Yes.
Yeah, collaboration videos. Yep.
Yeah.
So we're giving that a try. Yeah, and are you recording this for on your end?
No, I'm not.
Not a big deal. I mean, apparently it's going to be on my channel, so you can easily get the video from there if you want it for yours.
But
Yeah.
I'm afraid. I know people do this, but I'm afraid to just copy a video and mirror it in my channel because I'm afraid YouTube will penalize me for duplicating.
Yep.
Okay.
I see that. I wonder if I can. I don't know if I can do collaboration on my end. Let's see.
You have to do it when you start the video. I know it can be done for a regular video, but I'm not sure if it can be done for a live. I'm not sure if this option is for lives. The option is available for normal videos, but for lives, I haven't seen it.
All right. Well, I won't worry about it for now. Again, this is a learning experience. We'll get things figured out. But yeah. All right. So it's about time. So there's a couple things you wanted to talk about. So I'll let you go ahead and start with what you wanted to talk about.
Yeah. So I watched both of your videos on Counterapologetics. I think they were very interesting. You have a very cool approach to this because it's not just about like scoring debate points or destroying your opponent in a debate, right? It's not just about that, but it's also about having an open dialogue and an interesting conversation with people who disagree with you. And I think it's very valuable thing. Like I was telling you, to search for open debates and open conversations instead of where people actually listen to each other instead of just trying to win the debate, right? So my question will be like, how would you describe your general approach to counter-apologetics, to this dialogue? What is your opinion on this?
Sure. If I were to talk about those videos, I know Godless Granny found me through Counterapologetics 101, and she fell in love with it and led to collaboration. So it's
I saw that.
But yeah, it was pretty neat. But so before I will talk about the second one a little bit. But so before I really get into that, let me set the stage a little bit. So when we talk about belief or non-belief, it's really easy to think of it as some sort of battle of logic. And
Right.
like in a debate, it's like people line up evidence and they just pick whatever side has more or better evidence. But
Yeah.
in reality, belief is rarely about evidence specifically or only. It's also about identity and upbringing and emotions and community and even comfort, I would say. So my counterapologetics videos tries to explore that middle ground, not so much about proving or disproving a God or anything like that, but more about why people think and feel the way they do about the whole God question in the first place. So for those of you in the live or watching this later that haven't watched it yet, this is going to be more, I'm not redoing the video live. I'm going to talk about it a little bit and like give you a little tour through the ideas that the video might, you might take away from the video. And I'm going to, things like tone and approach and how it connects to like the broader.
Hi. Hello. Oh, it will lose dark. I don't know. Hi. Hello. I'm not. I don't know if I'm in the show. Yeah. Looks like I'm alone. I can see YouTube. Hello. Okay, I'm looking at the chat. Jet. Nobody has. Yeah. Hi, Daremo.
For a
It looks
second.
like.
There we go. Whatever I did works.
There you are. Okay.
Yeah. So how it connects to the broader. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Dynamo 10. So I want to talk about how it connects to the broader conversation about faith and reason.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah. And if we have time, I can talk more about how the ideas fit into like larger discussions about like skepticism and evidence and personal experience. But okay. So for now, let me get into like the main ideas for the video, which I call the taxonomy of belief. So basically the different kinds of believers that I talk about. So the video, it doesn't treat believers like one big group where everyone believes for the same reasons, but it tries to break it down into types, like different ways people come to or hold on to their belief in whatever God they believe in. And because belief isn't a one size fits all, you see two people both might say they believe in God, but the reasons and the experiences behind those beliefs can be totally different. So, for example, there are some people who mainly believe because of tradition. They grew up in a faith community, their family practiced it, and it's just always been part of their identity. For people like that, belief feels natural. It's almost like speaking a language you learned as a kid. A lot of these people don't really think about how you learned about God. It's just the way you express meaning in the world. Then you've got people whom we might call the experiential believers, people who have some kind of personal experience that they interpret as the divine. Maybe it wasn't something emotional like feeling a presence during prayer or a moment of clarity in a crisis or something like that. The belief isn't necessarily built on doctrine of argument. It's built on what they felt. And for them, that experience is going to be stronger than any logical counterpoint you can make. Then there are the intellectual believers, the ones who really enjoy theology or apologetics. They want to reason their way into faith. They look for philosophical arguments, evidence, or historical claims that they think would support their belief. You hear them talk about things like the cosmological argument or the moral laws as proof of God's existence. But On the other side, there are people who lost their belief, sometimes after realizing that they were, or what they were taught doesn't match what they can justify. So that's not really covered deeply in my video, but it's kind of implied when you see how different motivations can affect how tightly someone holds onto their faith. This the breakdown that you see shows just how diverse belief really is. So when we say someone believes in God, it can mean so many different things depending on what they're actually responding to, whether it's their emotion, their upbringing, their reasoning, or just something like a habit. And understanding those differences helps us have way more meaningful conversations, because we're not treating everyone's belief as if it came from the same place. So what do you think about this taxonomy of belief or believers?
Yeah, I think that's a good taxonomy. I like it. Yeah,
Mm,
you're right about some people, like, for example, when you mention those who have a personal experience of, they say Jesus, or they will say, I felt the Holy Spirit, right? Or
mm,
someone like Big John Steele, they will say, God slapped me in the face, right?
yeah.
Like, these are people, like, it's not about arguments for them, right? You're not gonna uh, get through them by getting to the logic behind it. It's like, it's all about when you have personal experience. And
Mm,
so you
it-
have to adjust your approach depending on which believer it is. And you're right. I think the lay believer, the general believer, is probably somebody who got it from their upbringing, right? Who
mm,
believes since they were children, because it's part of their identity, as you say. It's
right.
part of their community, of
Mm,
their church, their parents, and that's just how they always live their lives, right?
excellent. You
Yeah.
just answered the question. Looks like Chris in the audience there says, what do you mean by habit? And that's exactly it. They grew up with it. They never knew anything outside of it, because why would they? Their community is religious. Their friends went to the same church. So that's just their surroundings. And when they go to a public school, they don't think about religion, because it's just not where you think about it. You're busy trying to learn English or science or whatever else is going on, that you don't think about your belief in God, because a belief in God has nothing to do with the syntax of a sentence. It just is.
Right.
Yeah. So that's the main first part. Let's see. If we want to go into the next one. So once we understand the different kinds of believers, again, the traditional ones, the experiential ones, the intellectual ones, the next big idea is what happens when that belief gets challenged. I call this narrative disruption, because you're disrupting their narrative. In English, we tell it like it is. Basically, that's when someone comes along that shakes the story a person tells themselves about why they believe. And for some people, that might be new information. It might be a personal tragedy, or even just a question that doesn't have that easy answer. And when that happens, people react in all sorts of ways, depending on what kind of believer that they are. So for someone whose faith is built on tradition, a disruption might look like realizing not everyone believes what they were, what they were raised to believe, that other people grew up just as sincere in different religions. And that can spark doubt. But it can also make them double down and lean even harder on their community, because that sense of belonging feels safe. For experiential believers, the disruption might come when their feelings stop matching their expectations. Like, maybe they used to feel God's presence when they prayed, but one day they just don't. And that silence becomes very unsettling, and it forces them to question whether those earlier feelings were from the divine or just emotional responses to certain situations. Uh, for intellectual believers, the disruption often comes through argument or evidence. Maybe they encounter a philosophical challenge they can't answer, or they realize an argument that they relied on doesn't hold up as well as they thought. For someone who's built their belief on reasoning, that can feel like the floor literally dropping out from under them. So what's interesting is that not everyone handles disruption by letting go of belief. A lot of people actually adapt. They reinterpret, reframe, or recontextualize what's happening so it fits back into their worldview. For example, someone might say, God is testing my faith, or this is meant to strengthen me. In psychology, that's called cognitive accommodation, adjusting your worldview just enough to make the new information fit without having to rebuild everything from scratch. And that's something I think the video does a really good job highlighting, that belief systems, whether religious or not, tend to protect themselves. People usually don't abandon their entire worldview at the first sign of tension. They patch it, they rework it, they find a way to make it coherent again. So when I talk about narrative disruptions, it's really about that moment where belief meets resistance. And what a person does next says a lot about how that belief was built in the first place. And now I want to know your thoughts on the narrative disruptions.
Yeah, that's right.
Mm.
That's an issue you talk about in your video also, like when you when you expose people for the first time to this kind of things, to these opposing views. Like what you say is the first reaction is that they get defensive, right? That's a natural reaction because it's like you met some resistance from this. And another thing what I could say is that there is an effect of cognitive dissonance, even like when you show them that it just their beliefs like doesn't make sense. Like for example, the Trinity just doesn't make sense, or you show them these parts in the Bible that very clearly are like immoral, like the genocide parts or slavery or whatever. And there is some kind of cognitive dissonance effect where they just refuse to admit it,
Sure.
And they think, well, there must be some kind of explanation, even if they don't know it. They will retreat back to the faith where, okay, they will just assume there has to be some kind of explanation or response to your argument, like even if they don't know it, even if they cannot put it in a coherent argument, they will just trust that there is some kind of response to that, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of resistance there, like
Yep.
That's what you encounter.
Sure. Yeah, like you're spot on. You get it. And so you said you've watched the 101 and 102 videos.
Yeah.
Just as a short break, do you have a preference on which one you like more?
Oh, like, okay, I have to remember.
Yeah.
Now since I watched both of them like at once together.
Sure.
So at the moment, I don't really remember exactly which part was.
That's
what
okay.
Part one in which I don't really exactly remember, right?
Sure. Yeah.
But for me, it's like a one single thing. You know what I mean?
Yep. I can see that.
Yeah.
I recognize that people are going to get different. They're going to take something a little different away than the next person, and some I don't want to say tactics. Some points might resonate with people a little differently than they might resonate with someone else. So what you take away from the video will differ than what Godless Granny took away from the video. From a professional, like someone who does counterapologetics regularly, is going to see something a little different than what a beginner might see. A new atheist who hasn't had their first debate yet. They're going to take different things away from the video. And that was kind of my goal when I made those videos, is I wanted everyone to get something, but still keep everything accessible. So I don't know, which was a challenge, but it was a lot of fun to just do. All right. Yeah. So the next big idea that I talk about is what we can think of as the ecology of religious belief. Basically, the environment that allows beliefs to grow, spread, and survive. Those kinds of things. Just like in nature, beliefs don't exist in isolation. They live in kind of an ecosystem surrounded by culture and community and family and media and tradition. All of these factors feed into how belief forms and how it's maintained. Uh, think about it like this. Someone growing up in a small rural town where church life is central and has a completely different belief environment, uh, has where church life is at the center, and they have a completely different belief environment than someone raised in a big city with lots of religious diversity or no religion at all. The social reinforcement, the shared rituals, and even the language people use all shape what feels normal or true to them. And it's not just external stuff. There's also psychological ecosystem at play. Belief often fulfills emotional needs like comfort in hard times, a sense of meaning, belonging, moral guidance, or even, especially now, just stability in this chaotic world. And none of those are small things. They're real human needs. So when a belief system satisfies them, it it becomes more of an idea, or more than an idea, excuse me. It becomes like an emotional home. And now I'm not saying that believers are naive or irrational. I'm saying that belief functions within a network of influences. And once you understand that network, you start to see why belief can be so persistent. Even when someone encounters information that challenges the doctrine or a story, the social and emotional ecosystem around that belief often provides that strength to hold on to that belief. It's kind of like trying to pull a single plant out of your garden. You can't just yank up by the stem and expect everything to come free. There's a whole root system underneath connecting to other plants and to the soil that nourishes it. Belief works in the same way. You can't just talk about the idea itself. You have to look at the structure that it's rooted in. And I think that's what makes conversations about belief or disbelief so complicated. We're not just talking about what people think. We're talking about the entire environment that supports why they think that way. And once you see it through that lens, it becomes a lot easier to understand why belief systems can endure even in the face of really strong challenges. And now your thoughts on the ecology of belief.
Yeah, yeah, that's an interesting point. You mentioned like we need to distinguish between someone who is from a small town or someone who is from a big city, for example. And imagine also, yeah, that's a big difference. Imagine the difference between somebody who is, for example, from a very secular country in Europe, like I don't know, Norway. I don't know. I think the UK is getting more and more secular, for example, and someone who is from Saudi Arabia or something like that,
Yep.
or a very conservative country in like a Muslim country. I don't know, Egypt. It's a huge. You're also talking about huge difference in mentality, how they always thought about religion, how they perceive things. It's like completely different. The environment is just too different, right? So that
Yeah.
also has a big impact on this. So it's a cultural issue, definitely. It's a big part of a cultural issue. You can see how, I mean, it's just plain to see how in some parts of the world, like Europe, the people are getting more and more, less and less religious each time, right? While in other parts, their religion is strong, right? So it's tied closely to culture and society.
Sure.
And yeah.
Sure. And Daremo 10 makes a really good point here. He says, belief happens under pressure. The more pressure, the more solid the belief. And that is, it's not 100%, but it does raise that very strong point. Places like Saudi Arabia, or countries where it's illegal to be an atheist, you're
Right.
more likely to maintain your belief for a number of reasons, one of which being survival. Like, I don't want to go to jail, so I'm not going to go to the UAE and be outspoken as an atheist.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that does matter. And this goes back to what we talked about earlier about habit. if you're in a place where you have to go to church every week, multiple times a week, or you have to pray 4 or 5 times a day, or at least go through the motions, you're gonna hold on to your belief because it's just part of what you do. It's just part of your life, and you don't think about it. But it also talks about, or gets into things like when you're in a secular country where the quality of life is better, you're more likely to stay secular because there's not a lot of pressure to rely on something outside of your own power. But if you're in Gaza, if you're in places that are being bombed regularly, Afghanistan, wherever else, you're gonna want to turn to something in order to have some sort of sense of the world. So it's what they say, people in war-torn countries don't have time to be depressed, that kind of thing. Because they're busy trying to survive. They just can't deal with mental illness at the time because they need to survive first, and that's where all their effort is going. So that is that pressure to keep believing, the pressure in all aspects of their life to will keep them believing in whatever God they can.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. So the next part of the video, I talk about what it means to manage theological discourse, which is basically how people talk about belief and doubt and God in a way that keeps the conversation stable. So what's interesting is that theology in this sense isn't just about studying God or doctrine. It's also about how people communicate those ideas and how they protect them, explain them, or reinterpret them to fit the new contexts. In other words, theology is as much about managing the conversation as it is about defining the content of belief itself. Think about it. Every religious community develops its own language for handling tough questions. When something doesn't make sense, there's usually a ready-made phrase to help smooth it over. Things like, God works in mysterious ways, or we can't understand his plan.
That's right.
Yeah, and those phrases aren't meant to answer the question directly. They're meant to contain the question and keep it from destabilizing the overall system of belief. And that's a really important part of what keeps faith traditions resilient. It gives believers a framework for processing uncertainty without feeling like the entire structure is falling apart. Theological discourse, the way we talk about God, becomes a kind of self-regulating mechanism. And you can see this in how religious debates are framed. Instead of asking, is this belief true? They might ask, how do we understand this mystery? Or what lesson does this teach us? It's a subtle shift in framing that turns this challenge that we would see it into a learning opportunity, which helps preserve the coherence of the belief system. And of course, this applies outside religion too. Any worldview, political, moral, philosophical, that all develops their own internal ways of managing doubt and disagreement. That's basically how humans maintain social cohesion and intellectual comfort. So the key takeaway here is that theological discourse isn't just about what's being said. It's about how it's being said and why it's being said. It's that, for lack of a better term, it's a balancing act between curiosity and preservation, between questioning and maintaining the story. And once you as a counter-apologist notice that dynamic, you start to see it everywhere, in sermons, in debates, and especially in casual conversations about faith, in comment sections, in YouTube videos, anywhere this kind of thing is talked about. Once you notice this whole dynamic, it's pretty easy to see. It's part of the education. So now, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's definitely spot on what you say. For example, when these kind of objections, like there's some that they're like just common sense objection, like everyone will come up with those, like, why does God allow tragedies to happen? Why did God create a world with so much suffering, stuff like that. Oh, how does the Trinity make sense? Stuff like that. Like even there, you don't specifically need atheists or counter-apologists to go point out these things. Like they will come to these questions. People will come to these questions on their own, right?
Mhm.
So we have these, like you say, these standard responses. Like, okay, we need to trust. God works in mysterious ways. We need to put our trust in Him, right?
Mhm.
There are things human cannot comprehend, stuff like that, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Where, yeah,
And it does come back to that framing of the question that I've been talking a lot about it a little more recently. That how a question is asked changes how the answer is given. So, like I said, why is this happening versus what can I learn from this is a whole separate framing. So it sounds like it's asking the same question, but the answer you get from it tends to be very, very different.
that's right. Yeah.
So to wrap it all up, what I'm trying to do in the video is not just give a breakdown of belief. I want it to be a way of understanding belief as a human phenomenon. When you step back and look at everything that I've just here that you and I have talked about, the different types of believers, how they handle disruptions, the social and economic or social and emotional ecosystems that support faith, the way that theological conversations are managed, you start to see belief less as a single claim about reality and more of a living adaptive system. Belief grows, it changes, it protects itself, and it does all of that in ways that are deeply human. And it's tied to our need for meaning, for connection, for stability, and for understanding our place in the world. And that's true whether we're talking about religious belief or political belief, or even just the stories we tell ourselves about who we are as people. What I think the video does well is that it invites everyone to look at belief with curiosity instead of judgment. And not to agree or disagree right away when someone says something, but ask things like, why does this work for people? What role does it play in their lives? Because when we start there, we can have a much, much more honest, compassionate, and productive conversation, whether we personally share those beliefs or not. So if there's one big takeaway, it's that belief isn't just about what people think is true. It's about what helps them make sense of the world. And the more we understand that, the more we see belief as part of the human story. Uh, the better we get at actually talking to each other about it. And that's kind of where the whole thing comes full circle. Understanding belief, not to attack it or to defend it, but to recognize it as one of the many ways humans try to bring order to chaos or to find purpose and to connect with something bigger than themselves, whether that something is divine or philosophical or simply shared humanity. So that's the heart of it. I mean, my video isn't really trying to tell you what to believe. It's more of showing how belief works. And when you look at it that way, it kind of opens the door for better conversations, right?
Yeah.
Because instead of just debating conclusions, we start exploring the process and how people arrive there and what keeps them there and what happens when their worldview gets tested. And I think that's the real value of this kind of discussion. It doesn't really matter if you're religious or skeptical or somewhere in between, we'll say. Understanding the mechanics of belief helps you engage with people more thoughtfully. It helps you listen better and ask better questions and maybe even see the world through someone else's framework for just a little bit. So for the people listening, as you think about all this, the types of believers, how belief adapts, the social and economical, or excuse me, social and emotional networks that sustain it, try to keep in mind that belief isn't just about being right or wrong. It's about being human. And I'm going to end the conversation about the video there with the idea that belief isn't about drawing battle lines. To be a little cliche, it's about building bridges. So when you see a theist, if you're talking to someone and your beliefs differ, starting from a point of empathy and understanding why they believe what they believe will get you much, much further than trying to argue the fact. Because people, it's really easy to go, well, this is the fact, and if you don't think this, you're wrong. But that's not how beliefs change. If you tell me something, even if it's true, and I don't believe it right away, you're not going to get anywhere. You might start planting a seed of doubt, I'd say. But if you understand why I think the way I do and use that to help reach me, you're going to find you're going to receive much better results. And that especially comes true when people who aren't super logical thinkers, people who believe for emotional reasons or because they had an experience. If you say, well, how did you know that wasn't just a hallucination? You're not going to get anywhere with them because they had the experience. So yeah, Darimo, that's absolutely right. Trying to understand is far more useful than trying to win. And in my conversations, I never think about winning, not once. What do you think?
That's great.
Yeah, well, Rick, it doesn't just go for theists. There are a lot of atheists who don't remember that there's a difference between evidence and claims. But I see where you're coming from. Yep, and it does extend to more than just religion. Every part of life, every part of what we do benefits from this kind of thing. When you're interacting with someone else, yep, understanding with compassion is the whole point. You're absolutely right, Faye. Being empathetic, because humans, we survive because we can feel empathy. That's where a lot of our morality comes from. So, wow. But that's basically the video. That's like the crash course on the video itself. And I highly recommend watching it in terms to get a rounded experience. Yep. Try to use music and art.
Yeah.
Show intelligent design in a way that to an atheist. It might work. If people, if you start with something that, if an atheist doesn't believe a soul exists, you got a lot of work to get to the fact to trying to say that's your soul. You got a lot of work cut out for you. But if you understand how the atheist thinks and why they believe what they believe, and if you just say, why do you believe what you believe? You're not going to get nearly as much back as you think. It's a process. It's a long process. And being understanding and empathetic is really your first step. Yeah. That's the video. And I'm really glad that you enjoyed the two. I was thinking about putting out 103. It's just been on my mind more than anything else. I don't have everything that I'd want to talk about because I want it to be substantial. And again, I want people of all skill levels to take away something from it. So being able to word things the right way that it reaches as many people as possible is part of the challenge.
Yeah.
Have you considered putting out any counterapologetics instructions, like instructional tutorials for things like street epistemology or talking with theists 101, anything like that?
Yeah, no, I had considered the idea, but yeah, it could be a cool video. Maybe one, now that you mention it,
Sure.
Yeah, maybe it's like one could condense like all the stuff that I know and try to put it in as a guide, you know.
Yeah, start with what you have found is strong. What is a method that you have had success with, that where you've reached someone where they go, huh, I haven't thought about it like that, or where people really push back hard or where they shut down. Define soul as James Brown. Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent, Rick. Yeah.
Yeah, it depends a lot on what the other guy is throwing at you, because, like you said in the video, it's different. There is a difference between the approach presuppositional apologetics has, like a presup. Debating a presup is not the same as debating an evidentialist. Yeah, you went into that in your video, like, and there is another one. I forgot which is the other one. So yeah, different types of apologists.
Sure. Yeah, and you're absolutely right. What works with a presup likely won't work with the evidentialist. If you talk to someone who's really big on the philosophy, if you talk to a philosopher, as I think we're calling them now, like what reaches them is going to be very different than what reaches William Lane Craig or a street preacher. Like, they're going to be very different. I don't want to say tactics, because it's not really tactics, but what you want to say and how you want to say things will definitely vary. If I talk to a street preacher, I'm not going to bring up the same topics I'll bring up if I am talking to William Lane Craig, or if I'm talking to, I don't know, pick someone, Gary Habermas. If I'm talking to Gary Habermas about the resurrection, I'm going to say something different than if I talk to somebody who's really big into the philosophy aspect of religion, because what reaches someone when you're talking about the resurrection is going to differ if they're big on philosophy or if they're big on the minimal facts. So
yeah, speaking about presup, one, just as a curious, I want to mention one of the things I'm working on. I want to make a good guide on how to respond to the tag argument, because I think YouTube doesn't have many good videos on this. Like, I think I want to condense it all in like one good video. So it's one of my projects for the near future. I want to do this. Like, it's not
sure.
Yeah.
I did Professor Dark Destroys Presuppositionalism, and I wanted to call it a moratorium on presup because I thoroughly trashed it. And
that's great.
I feel like I did, at least. And I brought up Tang, the transcendental argument for the non-existence of God. If you don't know that argument, look it up. It's worth your time.
For the existence of God, you mean?
No, Tang, T-A-N-G.
Okay, now I get it. I get it now. Yeah.
Okay. I bring it up in the video. Watch it if you want to. If you don't, look up the argument itself. It's a good counter to Tag.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah.
Doing that. Looking at some notes here.
Yeah. It was another thing I wanted to ask. One of my questions was, like, for example, which skills do you think are important for a counter-apologetics, and how do you practice them? How do you build them? For example, you mentioned a lot, listening is a very important thing, understanding and listening. What would you say?
Sure. Let's see. So when you talk about foundational skills, if you're going to engage with religious arguments or just kind of think clearly about these topics in general, I'm going to be upfront that none of these skills are magic bullet skills. They're more like a toolkit, and how much you use each of these tools is up to you. Yeah, Chris, Tang, T-A-N-G, you are correct. So the first one I really focus on with my channel is critical thinking. Basically, that's your ability to spot hidden stuff in an argument. So a lot of religious arguments, like many arguments everywhere, rely on assumptions that aren't always obvious. So maybe they're smuggled in something without actually stating it, or maybe the language is tricky. So critical thinking is about asking, wait, what are you actually assuming here? And it's also about spotting when words are being stretched or used in different ways. The equivocation fallacy is the fancy word there. And when an argument is trying to make you feel something instead of giving you an any actual evidence.
Right.
Yeah, things like emotional framing is huge, and people can be really persuasive just by making you feel guilty about something or scared or inspired. And knowing how to recognize that is half the battle. G.I. Joe. Yes, exactly, Dynamo. If there is no God, who created the universe?
Yeah.
That stuff is important to recognize what is actually being asked there. So the second skill is epistemological basics. So the basics of epistemology. And for those that don't know, don't let that word scare you. It's a big, scary word. It's just about understanding what counts as justified belief. We'll say if you take truth as justified true belief. How do we know what we know? That's basically the definition. And what kind of evidence is actually strong enough to make a belief seem reasonable? Chris, I'm glad you like that. So a lot of debates around religion come down to what counts as evidence. So even just a little familiarity with these ideas, like the difference between personal experience and empirical evidence, or testimony versus proof, all of that, just knowing the difference between those goes a long way. Then communication and rhetoric. So you could have the best argument in the world, but if you're coming off like a jerk, no one's going to listen to you. So this is basically the skill of making a point clearly, logically, and without alienating the other person. Consider it like being precise with your words and being concise and knowing when to ask questions instead of firing back a counter. It's really about being persuasive without being combative. And lastly, for these, I'll say a little philosophy of science and logic. Put some of that in your toolkit. You don't have to go full philosopher here, though. Honestly, it's kind of fun for me, but just enough to parse arguments like the Kalam cosmological argument or the teleological argument. And that means understanding basic logical structures and spotting fallacies and having a sense. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's important. Just sorry, I cut you off.
Nope,
yeah, I
okay.
think that's super important. Like basics, some basic logic is like the starting point for this. Okay, what is a premise? It's what is the difference between a premise and an inference? And some familiarity with basic logical fallacies, like what is a non sequitur, what's a hominem, for example. Yeah, stuff like that.
And that goes with and that goes with the critical thinking aspect of it, of knowing when to spot it, but also when to call it out and when to go or when to ignore it. Because sometimes ignoring the fallacy might be the right move because there's something better coming if you ignore it than if you stop the argument and call it out. But you don't need like a PhD in philosophy to do this, but knowing the basics lets you actually follow the argument instead of nodding along and pretending you understand. So yeah, that's basically the first half of this. It's kind of the mental foundation that I rely on when I'm approaching these conversations. Critical thinking, epistemology, clear communication, and logic and science, philosophy. They're if you put all these together, it's not just about debating religion. They're good thinking skills just in general. But let's see. Now, how to acquire them. This is something that I took some notes on. So I just went over the foundation, the skills that really help you navigate conversations about belief. But here's the thing that I was getting at. Knowing what you need is one thing. The real question is, how do you get those skills? Because nobody wakes up. I certainly didn't wake up one day with a built-in BS detector and perfect logic. This is something that you have to build over time. The first way I would say to do it is really simple, but it takes patience. Read widely. And I mean widely. If you only read authors who agree with you, your perspective is going to stay narrow. Um, I would say start with people like David Hume, who really dug into what it means to justify belief. Bertrand Russell, who had a clear, just razor sharp way of thinking. J.L. Mackie, who was one of the best at dissecting religious claims logically. And Graham Oppie, who is probably the best living philosopher of religion today.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad that. Have you read a lot of Graham Oppie?
At the moment, I am reading Arguing About Gods, right?
Mm-hmm.
I find, to be honest, it's a difficult read. It's not easy to read, right? It's very philosophical, and you have to know a lot of, like, I find it hard to follow it sometimes. Like, you have to, if you want to, there are some parts where, like, if you want to really understand it, you have to slow down and analyze it really, because it's just too hard to follow.
It's very layered. Yep, I agree. But as I was when I started that section, don't just read atheists. Read everything. Read Aquinas. Read Plantinga. Read the people who do believe, because that's how you start to see how their reasoning works and where it doesn't. So it's kind of like, how can I relate this? It's like learning martial arts. Like, you don't just train against the punching bag. You spar with real opponents. And on top of that, there's things like watching debates. But you want to watch them critically. We talked a little bit about a couple debates, but don't just watch to root for your team. Like, I wanted Bill Nye to crush Kenham. I really did. But you looking back at it, I think I gained a lot more by watching it like I'm analyzing the strategy. And I looked at how each person argues and not just what they argue. Because when someone makes a point that sounds strong, I pause and I ask myself, why does that feel convincing? Is it because it's logically sound, or because there's something behind it, something maybe emotionally charged about it? So I actually brought a kind of controversial opinion recently, and I'll say it here and save your booze for later. But I think that Hitchens ended up losing his debate against William Lane Craig. Now, I love Hitchens. He was one of the sharpest, most charismatic debaters in modern history. But if you go back and really analyze the debate, Craig was probably more structured, and Hitchens, he was more rhetorical. And to be fair, Hitchens wasn't a philosopher. He was a writer, he was a polemicist, and a journalist. But that's exactly the kind of thing you notice when you're watching debates critically. You start seeing who's actually building that sound argument and who is leaning into the crowd a little more. But if we want to talk about this debate, if you guys are interested, we can talk about it another time. I'd love to dig into it, but I definitely want to rewatch it first and point to specific moments that really illustrate what I mean. The point, though, is don't just consume debates for entertainment. They are fun, I think, but break them down like you're a coach reviewing some game footage. Then I think one of the hardest but most important skills to practice is charitable summarizing. This means before you respond to someone's argument, try to restate it in the strongest, clearest way possible. Try to steel man their point so strong that they say, yeah, that's exactly what I mean. It's a lot harder than it sounds. Most of us, when we disagree, we want to attack the version of the argument that's easiest to take down. That's the straw man. Yep, very good. It is steel manning. But when you build the best version of your opponent's arguments before you critique it, two things happen. First, you actually learn something. And second, you earn respect. Even if they still disagree, people can tell when you're being fair. Even if your opponent can't, there's always an audience. Someone will read something you have online. Someone will see your video. If you're in a debate, there's probably an audience watching you. But honestly, that's what counterapologetics should be about. It's not point scoring. It's not owning anyone, but understanding the arguments deeply enough to test them honestly. If the goal is truth, then the person who's right has nothing to fear from being examined carefully. And if you're wrong, you want to know it too. So read widely, study both sides, watch debates like a coach studying your tapes, and practice steel manning charitable summarization until it becomes second nature. I do that a lot in my videos. I bring up what I think is the absolute strongest point. Because if you don't, if you attack us, even a slightly weaker version, you give them room to wiggle out of it. But those are the ways that you can turn like the theory of critical thinking, epistemology, and logic into something you can actually use in the conversation. And that's really the heart of it for me. Like, counterapologetics isn't about winning arguments. It's about earning your understanding. And when you've done that, your confidence doesn't come from bluster or certainty. It comes from having put your ideas through the fire and knowing they still hold up. And so now, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's definitely there. Like Freddie Manning says in the comments, still Manning, right? That's an exercise one can do. Like, okay, try to put yourself in the other position, in the other guy's position. If you had to make this argument, what's like the strongest version you could make of it, right? Even if you disagree with this argument, right? It's a way to understand the other guy's position. Yeah. Also, like Chris says, try to put yourself in their place, for example, understanding. That's important. Also, watching debates, like you say, I'm a big debate nerd. I love watching debates. I was going to comment about this. One of the things that I want to start doing, maybe this year or maybe next year, I want to start doing live reactions to the debates, because I think these are very cool. And I already have some candidates. I have one, William Lane Craig versus James Crossley, who is a New Testament scholar, a skeptic one. It was a bit old. It's very good debate. William Lane Craig is a great debater. You know, as you said, you say Hitchens lost. Well, I haven't watched that debate, but I can see this happening, because William Lane Craig is probably the best Christian debater in the world, right?
Yeah,
he's
at
the
least
most famous one.
He's definitely respected. Yeah.
Another one is Bart Ehrman,
versus,
which is Richard Bauckham. No, Richard Bauckham. He's the guy who wrote Jesus and the Eyewitnesses. He's a very very influential book on Christian apologetics. It's super influential. So, and Bart Ehrman, you know what that is, the super famous guy. So Bart Ehrman has done a lot of. Bart Ehrman has the very Mike Licona, for example. You know, he has very top level debates. And what I love about debates is that you get quickly an idea of what are the top arguments for this position. Because when you tell a person, a scholar, okay, you have 20 minutes or 10 minutes to make an opening statement, that person has to present his case. He has to condense the strongest points in 10 minutes, because he wants to make the best case he can, right? So what you're going to see is, okay, in 10 minutes, 20 minutes, very quickly, you're going to see a summary of what is the strongest case for this point. So that's great to see. And another scholar is going to respond to that. So that's a very good way to learn, I think, because if you're going to read a whole book, it may take like, a month to go through it. But in 10 minutes, you can get a quick idea of, the basics of the position. So I love debates also. I think that's great.
It's also very good. It teaches you to think on your feet, because you don't know what's coming, and you need to be ready to react in more than just a reaction. You need to have something to show that you understand what's being said, and then have something to not just respond, but to give something back, to give that understanding, to show that you respect what's being said. I wanted to address a comment here. I'm going to show it there. Krigorov Ilupo, hi all people, is counterapologetics another term to say using skeptical analysis of claims? So that's a fair way to put it. Counterapologetics definitely involves skeptical analysis of claims, but I would say it's more specific than that.
Yeah.
Because skeptical analysis can apply to pretty much anything, like
Yeah,
UFOs.
that's right.
Yeah. But counterapologetics focuses that same critical lens on religious claims and apologetic arguments.
That's right.
Yeah. So it leans on the philosophical, the historical, the theological defenses of belief in God or specific doctrines. So in practice, counterapologetics isn't just saying, I'm skeptical at this claim. It's looking at the logic, the evidence, and the assumptions behind those apologetic arguments. Things like the moral argument, the cosmological argument, and the resurrection, and so on, and asking whether they actually hold up under scrutiny. It's analytical, but it's also dialogical. It's about understanding the reasoning behind belief and responding thoughtfully to it. What do you think? I heard you agree, but I want to know more if you have any other thoughts on it.
Yeah, I would agree. Like in general, one can be skeptical of climate change deniers.
Mm-hmm.
One can be skeptical of flat earthers, right? One could be skeptical of people who say aliens are real, right?
Sure.
Skepticism applies to all of these other things. Like you watch the show Penn and Teller, right?
Yes.
A ton of topics, a ton of crazy stuff, pseudoscience, homeopathy, a lot of crazy people who say the moon landing was fake, stuff like that, all kind of things. So you can be skeptical to analyze all of this, wrong stuff, like illogical stuff. And counter-apologetics specifically refers to the apologetic, responding to apologetic claims, which defending religious faith specifically. So counter-apologetics responded to that, right?
Yep.
Mostly Christianity, but also Islam. No, Islam has become very popular. Back 20 years ago, this wasn't even a thing, it wasn't that common. Internet, like Islam versus Christian or Muslim debates, but now it has become more and more common, right?
Yeah, I can see that. Another comment here I want to address. Chris says, my biggest problem when I talk about slavery is its emotional energy, people seeing it as a weakness. Slavery is a very emotionally charged topic, and for good reason. When I talk about things like morality, which if we have time today, I'll go into it. I don't know how much time we're going to have, but when I talk about morality and people ask me, is it ever okay to own slaves? And I have to go, well, I can think of something very extreme, never would happen in a million years kind of thing where doing something terrible might be the most moral option, compared to the alternative. But it definitely gets into things like the trolley problem. Is it better to genocide people or have aliens destroy the world? Like, you've got to decide. And I think as hard as it is, there's argument for it's gross. I feel gross saying it. There's argument for genocide being the more moral of the two options. Gross, but there's argument. And that's just how morality works. It's literally just the trolley problem. Some people are going to disagree with that, and some people aren't. But it's such a difficult topic. And so when you have emotionally charged issues, people, I would argue a lot of people in bad faith use that as a way to try to corner you. And I lean into it. I say that I assume they're doing their best to be honest, even when they're not. So, and it leads to some uncomfortable situations, but it's an uncomfortable topic. So, if I'm going to be honest with myself, I'm going to say, this is what I think. Yep. Yeah, I would jump in front of the trolley too, because that's a whole different thing that I'm not going to talk about, Chris. But yeah.
Well, that's very noble. That's very noble of you.
Yeah. We'll call it noble.
Yeah.
So yeah. Do you have anything else you want to talk about? I mean, I have some time still, but
maybe we can talk, like you say, we can talk about morality a bit, because I have a funny opinion on morality.
Yeah, let's hear
it. Like, it is my interest. I have a very mixed. Many atheists will disagree with me on this, but I actually do think that morality is an objective thing.
Okay.
But I'm open to disagreement. I think maybe I could be wrong, but here is my how I will try to define morality. Morality is an act is a property of an act that affects other beings or other conscious beings or agents. And I would say an act is immoral if it hurts somebody else for no good reason.
Sure.
That's so. And what I would define as good reason is, so that's, I'm trying to come up with an objective criteria to determine whether an act is immoral or not. It's not you just give your opinion on it. You have to ask yourself, does this act hurt somebody else over no good reason? And for me, good reasons will be, well, protecting my life, my well-being, also my property, of course, like, because property is related to well-being. Like, if I punch for no reason, then obviously it's morally wrong. But if I punch to protect myself, to defend myself, right, or because you're stealing something from me, then that's morally okay. That because that's allowed. That's not immoral because then I have a good reason, and that's how I would think. I would try to come up with an objective criteria for something being moral. I think, Now, what I think is the strength of my definition. In principle, it looks like a very simple colloquial definition, and that's what I think. That's why I think it's good, because it fits the colloquial meaning of when a person thinks it is something immoral or not. I think the person is going through this process, is thinking, okay, is this act like hurt others for no good reason, right? And I understand that there are some people that when they think is this something immoral or not, they're asking the question, does this go against God's law or not, for example? That's another thing, but that's another issue. I think that they at this point that we are just defining things in a different way. I think in a very general way, morality talks about whether an action hurts others for no good reason or not. What I think is the weakness of my definition. My definition, maybe there is a weakness of what counts as a good reason, because someone may make an objection to this and say, okay, but how do you objectively determine what counts as a good reason? Like, how do you do it, like, truly objective way? Like, to what degree do I need to, someone is like, for example, someone has really loud music next to me. Okay, at which point is this really affecting my well-being that I say, no, I am justified to call the police and ask him to stop, right? How do you exactly do we draw that line? And then what they will say is, maybe this will always be a subjective thing. Like, there is no real objective way to define it. But so maybe there is subjectivity there included in this point. But that's like,
Yeah, I see what you're talking about. Have you read The Moral Landscape by Sam Harris?
No, I haven't.
That's one that I enjoyed. Listen to his talks if you've got a lot to read already. He does some talks on it. It might be worth your time when it comes to morality, because you're very, very close to what he's talking about, which also means you're still using subjective morality, which is fine, because I'm a moral subjectivist myself. So how it generally works, and how Sam Harris might describe it, is we start with a goal. The goal is entirely subjective.
Okay.
So believers might say God. I say, and Sam Harris would say, well-being. I say the well-being of sentient creatures, because non-sentient things don't have well-being. So a rock, like if I break a rock, I'm not doing something immoral to the rock. So now if it's the rock and I'm doing something immoral, I can do something immoral to the rock, but that's a wrestler and actor, and I'm not going to talk about him. So words. So we start with a subjective position. We start with well-being. Generally, I say the well-being of sentient creatures, well-being is just fine. And then we take that and we make objective evaluations in relation to the goal of well-being. Now, you can substitute anything there, and it still becomes a form of morality. Like, you could make harm your subjective starting point. And then you make objective evaluations of whether it works toward or away from that goal. So with well-being, you look at general well-being, and you can look at general statements like life is generally preferable to death, and health is generally preferable to sickness, and pleasure is generally preferable to pain. No comments on that one. So then you can make those objective evaluations. So the common one I hear is drinking battery acid. Is that better, or is that going to lead you toward well-being or away from well-being? I say it works away from well-being because it burns, and it burns a lot, and it will eventually kill you if you drink enough of it, which is not that much. So drinking battery acid is negative well-being. So we would call it an immoral action to drink battery acid. Now, does that mean it's always immoral? That's tough to say. You get that trolley problem again. There might be a situation where it might be right to drink battery acid. Again, it's those extreme situations that we don't usually think about because they're not realistic. So we start with a subjective position, well-being. That is, we have no reason to say it other than that's just our basis. And then make the objective evaluations. And so and I would argue that everyone does this. Like, with very few exception, everyone cares about well-being. And if they don't care about well-being, then I say they don't care about morality, because you can't pick a moral or immoral action that does not have well-being at its root. So something like what you were saying, harm, does something harm or does it not harm? We can make those objective evaluations, presuming we have enough information. So with your example with music, if your neighbor is playing really loud music, we can look at how much harm is that causing. It might be annoying, which, sure, it can be annoying. Is it causing any damage to your ears? If it is, well, we can say it's immoral for them to be playing music that loud. If it's not, well, we can look at other factors, like what is the music? What is the music? Are there explicit lyrics? Is it something that's emotionally harmful? Are there kids around? Like, we have to check, and this is what is called situational ethics. This is where we look at the situation as a whole and make those evaluations. Yeah, if it wakes up your infant, that is negative to your well-being, because you've got to deal with now an infant that just woke up. So, and you can weigh that against the enjoyment that they're getting from listening to the loud music, and also the detriment for calling the police on them. So if they are a marginalized group that might get shot by the police, maybe calling the police on them could be a negative thing. But you have to evaluate harm versus well-being, and does it generally increase well-being? So we have to deal with those kind of generalities because we don't know all the factors, but we still make those objective evaluations towards the subjective goal.
Yeah. Right. The one issue, for example, a couple of issues. Sure. One issue I see with there, okay, at some point when you say the music is not loud enough, that is literally hurting my ears. It's just annoying. Okay, what if somebody else says, okay, in my opinion, doesn't reach the point where it's an annoyance. Okay, how do you objectively determine which one of them is right? I don't see a way to do this at some point when it gets to being annoying. What I find annoying, what another says, say, in my opinion, that's not annoying. Okay, is there really an objective way to determine that? I'm not sure, and I'm not sure that makes it what the problem I have with my own theory is whether this makes then morality as inherently subjective thing, because there are some things when it's going to boil down to an opinion that I don't see any objective way to determine how annoying is this, right? For example.
Sure. What someone finds annoying is subjective. That is correct. But that someone finds it annoying would be objective. So
yeah. That's right. The thing is, if you're just doing something like I don't know, man. You cannot just take people word when somebody tells you, I find your haircut annoying to see. Okay, you cannot just tell them, okay, you're right, because this is by definition a subjective thing, so you're automatically right. So I am being annoyed by having this haircut. Obviously not. Like, you cannot just say, I find it annoying and period, and that's, and everyone needs to accept my subjective opinion, right?
Mhm.
It's like you have to be some objective way that people need to determine, okay, was this really annoying?
Mm.
Okay.
Well, I can see where you're going with that. I do think that you can make the evaluation of how annoying is it, because annoyance isn't just yes or no. It is, there's levels
Yeah,
of annoyance.
that's right.
And so if you can make the evaluation of, this is, I don't know, X amount of annoying, and if I call the police, there will be X amount of harm that could come to their way. Like, again, they might get shot if they're marginalized group people, but maybe nothing happens. And so we look at, this is where consequentialism comes into play, is that we look at the consequences of the actions. Yep. And we do know the point where the volume of music can cause hearing damage. And that would be that's another point of data rather than if something's just annoying. So it is that we look at the outcome. So is it, how annoying is it compared to the benefit of letting them keep doing what they're doing? And so again, that it's annoying is objective. How much it's annoying, that could be subjective. So it's a very good example, and that's something that I haven't really put into words, but I think it still uses that we have a situation, and we can make objective evaluations on whether it's a good or bad action. So, and we would just have to know the factors, I suppose. Like, there might be unknown factors that we just don't know until the consequences happen. So, but that's how consequentialism works. Yeah, timing is also important. Loud music at noon is different than at night. You're 100% correct. Although I work overnights, so I will be awake at night, and I don't play loud music anymore. If I do, I put in headphones, or I'm running my goth night where I'm in a place where loud music is accepted. So, but that's the situation again. Rockabilly and or cowpunk. I do industrial electronic body music, maybe a little shoegaze, but yeah. So again, we make those objective evaluations in relation to the subjective goal. And if you can find me something that's, we would apply a moral label to, as in moral or immoral, that does not have well-being at the foundation, I will 100% change my mind. But for now, no one's been able to do it. Some people have said love God was something that a believer can do that an atheist can't do, and that would be a moral action. But I don't know. I don't think that's a moral or immoral action, because I don't think loving is a choice. It's not an action you take. It's something you feel. Yeah,
that's a good point. So, but here's my issue with a bigger issue with when you say this is you start with a goal. So this can be subjective thing, or it can be anything arbitrary, and then the moral thing becomes whatever helps you like achieve this goal. I'm not sure. Look, so are you telling me that if I start with the goal of torturing people, now the morally correct thing to do becomes like hurting people because it achieves my goal? That seems absurd to me. You cannot just start with any goal. You have the goal has to be well-being, right? You cannot say the goal is anything you want, right?
But that's kind of my point when I said that find me something that's immoral or moral that doesn't have well-being at the foundation. But if we were to take a sociopath or a psychopath who their well-being might be, or their morality might come from how much damage I can do and how much I can affect the world. And so what's right for them, and this is something that apologists like to harp on, and they're missing a very fundamental aspect of morality, is that, well, the serial killer can just say murder is good. And then we can look at that like, okay, if that's their moral foundation, then what? And we can look at why that would be considered moral or immoral to them. And then we can look at the outcomes. So if we were to take a society where murder is considered good, what happens? And then we see people die and human populations die out. So why don't we see that as morally right? Well, because the people that did see it as morally right all died. So that's not what we do anymore. And we form communities around what we consider moral. So is cannibalism okay under people's morality? That's going to depend. Where do you live? That's kind of where moral relativism falls into play. But that doesn't mean I can't make objective evaluations on whether cannibalism is right or wrong. It's what we as a people agree on. And we all agree on this foundation. We in this community will say. Another community can agree on a different foundation, and we can see what leads to human flourishing or what leads to what we would consider good, the survival of the species. But again, that's entirely subjective, which is why I think morality is subjective.
Okay.
Well, it's intense. Yeah.
So, okay, here's my other. First, just to get a baseline of it, what else do you consider to be subjective? For example, when you're thinking whether a movie is good or not, whether a painting is beautiful or not, or a person, is that a subjective thing? Or what is give me another example of what is a subjective thing?
Yeah, a subjective is something that depends on your mind rather than anything external, necessarily anything external. So you could say whether a painting or a movie is good or not is entirely subjective. But how do we determine whether it's good or not? We start with a subjective grounding point. So if I might think a movie is good if it has a lot of action, for example.
Yeah.
But that's entirely subjective. No, like there's another person who would think a movie's good if it has a lot of romance and no action. So that's what it means to be subjective. And then we can evaluate the movie objectively depending on our goal. So if our goal is to see more action, the better the movie. And then the more action for the other person, the worse the movie. So it's the exact same movie, but different goal. And that's why the goal is subjective.
Okay, I have an additional argument here of why I think morality is objective instead of just subjective.
Sure.
When you say, for example, I think if a movie is good or not, it's just giving your opinion, really. But here's the thing: when people think about moral dilemmas, when we think about like the trolley problem, when people think about moral difficult questions, for example, is it moral to steal money if you're to steal food, if you're literally going to starve otherwise, right? For example, a person is going to starve if he doesn't steal that food. Is it moral to steal food? If you ask a person this question, what the person is going to do in his mind is going to reflect. It's not going to just give an opinion, a subjective opinion. I think it's going to reflect, to reason a truth of to find the truth about something. I think the people is going to think, okay, is this act going to hurt people for no reason? I think the person is going to reason some truth using some real principles. The person is not like, okay, I'm just going to give my purely personal opinion about this, which is about this case, which is the same as a movie, the same as saying if a painting is beautiful or not. I think the person is going to reason the truth about something, a real underlying truth. That's what I think. Maybe morality will lean towards being objective in some way.
I can see that. And that what you're calling or what you're doing there is situational ethics. They are looking at the situation as a whole and making the evaluation. But that's exactly what I was saying, in that the evaluation on whether something is moral or immoral is the objective point. So now the goal is entirely subjective. I don't want to say it's arbitrary, because I don't think it's actually arbitrary. I do think it's subjective. And this leads to things like, is killing someone wrong? And If it was objectively wrong, then it's true that it's wrong irrespective of minds, irrespective of who is looking at it. And I don't think that's the case, because I think there are situations where killing someone might be a moral action and not doing it might be immoral. Again, things like protecting yourself, things like saving your family, pick something. If you're being attacked, somebody's being attacked by a serial killer. Yeah. If you have a gun, if you have a weapon, and your options are kill this serial killer or they kill someone else, I think it would be immoral to not kill someone, not kill that serial killer. Though I can make exceptions for people who are like severe pacifists who physically can't do it or mentally can't do it, and so I don't hold people I don't hold it too much against them, because killing someone takes a major toll. So it's a very difficult situation to say, is it wrong to not kill the serial killer? Because again, trolley problem. You can kill a serial killer, but you'll suffer these psychological effects. Yeah, well, got to figure that out.
Sure.
Yeah. So it is the evaluation is the objective part. Because again, like I said, if you don't care about well-being, then okay, what makes something good or bad? And a lot of theists, a lot of Christians specifically, will say things like, is it closer to what God wants? And you go, okay, is it close to what God wants? And then we look into how we know. If we say the Bible, then we could argue that the Gazan genocide is good due to the Bible, if that's what we want our foundation to be. And so genocide stops being objective, because there's a situation where it's right, because it's what God wants. So it's a very tricky situation.
I'm not sure this makes it objective or subjective. Like, we could just specify, we could specify the original question, even for example, is killing in not self-defense always wrong, for example, instead of is killing always wrong. You can specify the original question, and then you will go back again to, are people giving their opinion on it, or are they trying to reason something based on objective principles?
Sure. Well, I would say that situational ethics makes it subjective. So a lot of theists, especially Frank Turk, will say, do we know that torturing babies for fun is wrong? And I have to say, you're doing situational ethics, because the action and the motivation are two different things. So if we want to say something is subjective, we look at the action. And so again, we can find very extreme situations where doing something terrible might be the most moral thing. We're back to the trolley problem. And so it gets really kind of gray area-y. But again, killing somebody might be right depending on the situation. And that's what makes it subjective.
Okay.
Yeah. It's definitely something, again, look into Sam Harris's The Moral Landscape. It's one I really liked. It might not change your mind. That's okay. But it's a different position. And I think, like I said before, we should be reading people that we don't always agree with. So,
yeah. Trost Adams is making an interesting question. Why do we consider killing humans wrong, but we don't hold the same thing for other animals? Well, here is the thing. We don't just kill animals for fun. We do think it's wrong when this happens. For example, bullfights just got made illegal in my home country. But we do, when we kill animals for a good reason, because we need that meat for our nutrition, for our survival, right? And you might make the case, but you could just eat plants. But someone could say, okay, that's asking way too much of me, because I'm going to suffer to some degree if I only eat plants. Like I get pleasure out of eating meat. I get a higher nutritional value, right? So I don't know. It's like, it's not the same, right? Because we have also we try to kill them like quickly. We don't kill them slowly like the animals, right? They do them quickly so they don't suffer like a lot, right? So we do have some morality towards animals. Like we don't have any morality towards animals.
Yep. And that's where it leads to why my basis for morality is the well-being of sentient creatures, because we can look at the benefits versus the cost of killing an animal. And a lot of vegans will argue that it's immoral to kill an animal, and I can understand their position. I don't know if I necessarily agree. And they'll try to make it an emotional argument, like you're killing because of a matter of taste. Well, not always the case. There are some things in meat that we get that we don't get the exact same of in other non-vegan, or I'm sorry, in meat versus vegan foods. So I don't normally go into the veganism aspect of it, but we also kill animals for things like population control. Like here in America, especially a lot of the outside of the major cities, there's a lot of deer, and we have deer season because there's a lot of deer, and they walk into the middle of the road and they get hit by cars and they cause car accidents and kill a number of people. And so we have to say, is killing a deer, we weigh that against, is it worth letting the deer live with the potential of somebody hitting it, killing it anyway, and possibly killing themselves in the process. And so we have to check the risk. And with things like overpopulation comes things like not deforestation, but where they eat too much vegetation, or they bring in predators, like different predators. Like then the wolf population grows, and then if a wolf wanders into town, now we've got a problem. Or if a bear wanders into town, we have a bigger problem. And so these are things that we have to evaluate. And I don't know all of the ins and outs, but trust to your point. Interestingly enough, 90% of all of the farms in the United States are not factory farms. They're considered family farms. My great-grandfather started a dairy farm. I dated someone who grew up on a farm in rural Illinois, just north of Chicago. And she showed me the statistical reports in the United States. Now, does that mean 90% of the meat comes from family farms? No. But you are right. I agree that factory farms are terrible, and that without them, some people would suffer greatly. And so we have to determine, should we have factory farms, or should we deal with the consequences of not having factory farms? And that's where the morality comes in, and we have to weigh those pros and cons. And people who know more about that than I do that. And factory farms affect more than just morality. They affect capitalism. My own thoughts on capitalism aside, that doesn't matter for this part of the conversation. We have to say, is the benefit of having factory farms worth the cost of the suffering? And that's a very tough argument. And again, you're back to the trolley problem. Some people will say yes, some people will say no, and it depends on a lot of factors. So, but on the family farms, they take care of animals. I can 100% tell you that. Waking up at 4 a.m. to lay with a sick cow is doing that for a couple weeks. Do that for a couple weeks, and then say that, oh, these farmers don't care about their cows. But again, those are just family farms, not factory farms. Is there a lot of farming where you are, Modern Atheism?
Well, I'm in Germany, but I'm from Colombia, and yeah, there is a lot of farming there. Actually, my parents have a small farm also. They have some cows there also.
Sure.
They also sell them. Yeah, they raise them and sell them. So I know about this.
Are they beef cows or dairy cows or both?
Oh, I don't know. I think,
no, that's fine.
I don't know,
yeah. Yep. Where I lived, so this was the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, where my family's farm was, and we raised mostly dairy cows, but we did have some beef cows, and it was my job to wrangle them sometimes, which was a lot of fun. We had a shepherd's crook basically, and my cousin was teaching me, like, one of my first times out, to get the cows in for milking, and he says you have to hit them on like their back hind end, and that'll get them to move. And so I walk up to them, and I kind of like, I'm so worried about hurting these giant animals. I don't know why, but I was like, it's an animal, and I go, and I like kind of like tapped it and it didn't move. And he's like, no, you have to put some force behind it. They're wearing leather armor. You're fine. They'll be fine. And I went, oh, okay. And I watched him do it, and I kind of got how it works, because you can move them without hurting them. So you can herd them without hurting them. Yeah. Yeah. I know what cows could have done to me. I know cows kill more people than sharks.
Wow.
So yeah, that's a fun fact. Now, but there are ways, like, you don't walk directly behind them if you can at all help it, so they always see you there. And the shepherd's crook is long enough so you stay out of kicking range. Yeah. 3,000 animal pig barn. Yeah. Oh yes, I agree. Yep. Yeah, we had dairy cows, and I got to feed the calves sometimes, and they would like chew on my hand, and they didn't have a lot of jaw strength, but they would just chew on my hand because I was salty, and it was just kind of fun as a kid. Yeah, we did have 4-H. Yeah. Have you ever seen, I don't know, Modern Atheism, if you've seen, have you ever seen a shampooed and conditioned cow, like what they look like? Where basically, like, you shampoo and condition your hair, do it to a cow, and when they take them to these 4-H fairs, like the county fairs here in the United States, they are some fluffy cows. Like, they're poof, just a big, it's furry. Yeah. Don't walk by the cows. Yep.
I didn't know that. That's good to know.
Yeah. Yeah. My girlfriend at the time, her cows, they named them, and then they were beef cows, and when they were sent to the Illinois meat mafia is what they called it. So you'd sell them the cows, they would go through the processing process, and then we would buy the meat back. And so, we're eating Gertrude today. I'm like, well, Gertrude is delicious. But we knew, because they had taken care of this cow from birth to sending off to be processed, that they knew this cow. They had named it and then ate them. It's very circle of life kind of thing. It's they were there the whole time from start to finish. And I think there's something, I don't want to say poetic, but there's something to that. Yeah. Steak and hamburger. Yeah, a lot of them are. A lot of the beef cows are. Yeah. These comments are fun. I like these comments.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now, I guess I've been on for about 2 hours. So what do you have going on your channel? What's next on your channel?
Oh yeah. Yes, good that you asked. Thanks. So first of all, for the audience, maybe if you want, please check out my channel and consider subscribing to it. So, and what I've been doing lately, like I just told you, I just got monetized, right? That's very cool, because that's like the first big milestone for a small YouTuber, like the most important one. The moment where you're not getting anything, but then you hit 1,000 subscribers and the watch hours, and bam, now you get a little money from each video, so that it helps a lot with the motivation for it. Like, makes you want to, I wonder if I can grow the channel and make it like, okay, maybe it's a hobby that gives you a little money, right? You know, who knows?
Sure.
And what I want to do, right now, a channel called Faith Because of Reason, David Palman. He made a video of the resurrection, and I made a response video to him. He made a huge video, a 6-hour video of the resurrection, a very big case.
Wow.
So, I responded to that, and he made a response to me. It was the first time that someone makes a response to me. So it's very cool. Because he's big, he's a bit bigger. He's like 5,000 subscribers. And I'm working on a response to that. So we're going back and forth. And I also had him on my channel for a debate. So it was very interesting, because he's very good at this. And another thing, I'm actually working on inviting people to my channel. I want to start doing that. So I have some very exciting news. This is more important. I should probably lead with this. I'm having Richard Kerry again on my channel at the end of October. We are going to be talking about, we're going to be reviewing a video on gospel reliability. We're going to be talking about the arguments for gospel reliability and responding to those. Also, I'm going to be having, do you know James Fodor?
Yes.
I'm going to be having him next week on my channel on Sunday. We are on recording. I invited
Excellent.
him. He has a YouTube channel, and yeah, he agreed to come to my channel also. So it's very big people, right? James Follow, Richard Carrier. Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm also planning to invite other atheists to the channel, right? So
Mhm.
yeah, I just also want to have like more debates with apologists, like preferably like with YouTubers. If so, a Christian has a small YouTube channel, I would like to come from to have a conversation on the existence of God or on the resurrection or morality or whatever. I would love to have you. I want to do that.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also want to start, one thing that I do is I call a lot to some Christians who do talk shows. Do you know, like Big John Steele is one?
I've heard of
And
Big
there's,
John Steele.
yeah. Another one is Fearless Truth. I
Okay.
talked to him once. Another one is there is a new guy, a smaller guy called Apollos. I've been calling, he does talk shows every Saturday. I've
Mhm.
been calling to his channel. I've been talking to them a lot. I have a lot of videos already, like they are in YouTube, and I plan to take them and make a commentary. Like they are, at the moment, it's only you only find those conversations in their channel, but I want to take those conversations and react to them in my channel soon. I want to start doing this. Yeah, and like I told you before, I also want one of my projects. I want to make a big response to the tag argument, so I'm doing research on this.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's some of the stuff that I've been working on.
Yeah. Well, God, who put forth? Yeah. Well, I definitely recommend. Again, watch my video. Don't watch my video. But let me check something real quick.
Yeah, people are saying about logic
Yeah,
in the
logic.
comments. Yeah, I've been watching. If you following his community post, he's been going to gallstones, and I remember like 3 weeks ago he was just saying, "Oh, I have a lot of pain." Then he told us about he was telling people about everything. Then he was in surgery. Then he was posting from the hospital. Oh, my surgery got moved for tomorrow, and he just recently got it like a week ago, and he says he's fine. So finally, so yeah, he went to like a big thing. He's
Mhm.
very funny. He's very funny. He's a
Yeah,
very funny guy.
Yeah, I enjoy a lot of his stuff. When he took on Christ Righteous and the plagiarism of that book, oof, that was interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another
Go ahead.
very funny guy is Sir Sick. You know him? A guy
I know
who,
Sir Sick. Yep, I watch him pretty regularly.
yeah. He's big guy. I think he has like a knight. He's drawing. He's like a knight in some animations, and he's so funny. He makes like jokes that are super.
Sure.
Sometimes they're very good. He likes to like mock religious arguments and so on. And he's very funny. Also there.
Yeah,
I think I wish I was funny like that, because I think that can get you work a lot in terms of getting an audience, because it's not so easy to make jokes like that.
Yeah, he's pretty sharp.
Yeah.
This is something that when I was starting my channel, I had to consider what direction I wanted to go, because I watched a lot of YouTubers. Vice Rhino and Surus are on my list. And I watched like the Atheist Experience, and Sir Sick was definitely someone I've been watching for many years. Same thing with Logic. I even stole Sir Sick's armor at one point and put it in 2 of my videos now. And I had said, please support Sir Sick. Sir Sick, please don't sue me. And it was pretty great. I enjoy that. Arn Ra. Yep, I watch Arn Ra pretty regularly. Yeah, so Michael Martin. Yeah.
I just watch the one channel I watch religiously, right? I will make time to watch that channel. It's Paulogia.
Paulogia, yep. I watch him pretty regularly too.
There is almost nobody like him in terms of refuting resurrection claim, gospel reliability, Bible stuff, like historical stuff, because many atheists, it's not easy to master these topics, because there is a lot of scholarship on this. Like, you need to read a lot of this. I want to take my channel also a bit in this direction, but there aren't many atheists that are good at these topics. Like, I can think maybe of Godless Engineer, and sometimes Alex O'Connor does some resurrection stuff, but generally it's not so easy for atheists to really go deeply into the scholarship behind like gospel authorship, like historical reliability of the gospel, because there are some very deep stuff. Like, if they really start going at you with, if an apologist starts throwing stuff at you, like automatic congruency, like how the names of the gospel much this and that. Like confirmed details. There are 84 confirmed details in Acts. It's not so easy to give a competent and deep response to that takes in the scholarship into account, right?
Sure.
Okay, that McLennan is some other guy that is very good. He knows a lot about Bible contradictions and stuff. But Apologia is probably the best. Like really, nobody like him. I just make time to watch every video when they come out because he's so good at this.
Yeah. Interestingly, I responded to Pastor ZZ Comfort. I don't remember the guy's real name, but he is like Ray Comfort's Apologetics, but he has a big ZZ top beard. And as it turns out, Godless Engineer had responded to him as well. And because of that, my channel kind of blew up from like 500 subscribers to about 1,500 subscribers based on those two videos alone, like in that gap. So it was pretty cool.
What did he do again? Do you make those videos?
I made 2 videos, but Godless Engineer had responded to his videos, and I didn't know that. And also even had him on his channel. And I can look up the guy's name in just a moment.
That's great. That's a
big... yeah.
Yes.
And he was, I don't know, some pastor and Pastor ZZ Comfort, because ZZ Top Beard, Ray Comfort Apologetics. And they were not good, but to no one's surprise.
I'm gonna go to the bathroom real quick. It will be like a minute, but you can keep talking. You can keep entertaining the audience.
I will try to keep entertaining the audience. No promises, though. So, chat, you like saying slurs? That is a clip that lives rent-free in my mind. If you know where it's from, oh my God. Look up Reverend Bud. He was on Jerry Springer. That's kind of funny. Pastor Joe is this guy's name. Yeah, that was 2 years ago. And my first one hit, a whole 1.1K views, and my second one was 4.6K views. So it was a very big jump there. And I don't know, after responding to that, there's more to that, and I'll get into that in just a moment. So the transcendental argument for the non-existence of God was Dr. Michael Martin. An article originally appeared in the autumn 1996 issue of the New Zealand Rationalist and Humanist. So when he gets back, I'll tell him all about that. Got to catch up on chat here. Yeah, I know Brock Lesnar lived on a farm, worked on a farm, carried cows. I've seen videos of that. A YouTuber called Miss Lemon. She's fun in books review. Okay, I'll definitely have to take a look at that. Who would I say are the best apologists? None. None of them are the best apologists.
The best apologists.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. For me, number one is Inspiring Philosophy. That's the best. Yep. The top apologetics channel is Michael Jones and Tan. Michael Jones is probably the best. He knows a lot about many topics. He's really good. One has to admit he's very good at this. Also, I like Eric Manning from Testify. He does a lot of like gospel reliability, the reliability of Acts. He also responding to skeptic arguments on this. He's very good at this, and his videos. I love his videos because they are super funny. They are like internet. Do you know Testify, right?
Yes.
They have like these memes. He does funny image of internet memes and places that he makes funny images with this. And I love them visually. They're very cool. Also, Trent Horn is also good.
Yep.
And who else is good? Yeah, David Palman from Faith Because of Reason is smaller. It's a smaller channel. He only has about 5,000 subscribers, but he goes very deep into the topics. He also has a lot of knowledge on this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. These are the top up. I don't know. There are some Gavin Ormond. I don't think he's that good. He doesn't do so much. Who else? Maybe Sean McDowell. I don't know. He does a lot of. He has William Lane Craig in his channel a lot, and he does a lot of collaboration with him. Maybe he's also good, but I think the top is definitely Inspiring Philosophy. Like he's very he's super good at this.
Right on. I actually like Sean McDowell. I think out of a lot of apologists, I think he does his best to be honest, and I think it comes through a little bit more because he's not afraid to call his the apologist side out. I've noticed, and his stuff is very I think he hedges more than he probably should, but it it comes off more honestly than a lot of other apologists. Let's see, Richard Swinburne.
That's I was thinking of YouTubers, but Richard Swinburne is the among philosophers, right? He's probably the best. William Lane Craig and Richard Swinburne is the best. They're the best at this.
What about what's his name? Joshua Rasmussen. Have you read any of his stuff?
I have seen him in a couple of videos. I think he has an argument from limits or something like that. He has something new.
I think you're right.
I think he's good as well. He's a good. I think. How was his name? Richard Kuhn or Rob Kuhn? I think he's also like part of the top philosophers, like theist philosophers.
Yeah, but those would be who I would say. I used to see what I thought were top tier philosophers. Like I used to think William Lane Craig was like the man, and in some cases he still kind of is.
Yeah, in the Kalam.
The Kalam, and then I saw John Lennox. Like I thought that he's a mathematician, and so he's got like formal education backing up his stuff, and so there was a lot that a lot of these apologists are like, oh, I don't know how I would handle that. And then I started doing it and I went, oh, that's how I would handle that. And so I don't find a lot of the issue that I'm finding is that a lot of the good, like the best apologists don't give me a lot of content. They're not, a lot of their stuff isn't worth responding to because they tend to be more honest. You could argue Trent Horn. He's very precise, and he dives in pretty deep, and he's right a lot of the time. So and plus he makes like 20+ minute videos.
I was thinking I wanted to work with somebody to react to his Pascal Wager video. I think it's a good. I think will be great. Maybe if you're interested in that, we can talk about it later because I would love to do that. Right?
Yeah, I wondered. I think I don't remember if I responded. I know I wrote a script for it, but I think I responded to Pascal's wager.
I also wrote a big post. I posted it as a community post, and I have a long response to his points. So I wanted to somebody say, "Hey, you should make a response video because this is a lot." So I wanted to react to this with somebody. It's a recent video he made on Pascal's wager. It's a lot. It makes a lot of arguments. So I think will be interesting.
Yeah, if nothing else, send me a link on Discord or in however you need to send me a link. I would love to at least see it. Specifically the video you're talking about. But yeah, those are who I think would be the best. We'll call them apologists. Yeah, I do think that William Lane Craig, even though I would consider him top tier, you have to understand this is top tier for apologetics, and that criteria is a little it's a little unbalanced because I think apologists are wrong. And so I think that every argument for the existence of God has one of the three pillars of apologetics, that the problems with it, and emotional claims, lies or falsehoods, and logical fallacies. So
somebody's
good.
Sorry, somebody's mentioning William Lane Craig and the Kalam cosmological argument in the comments. If you want to go deep into this, Phil Halper, I think it's called. He made a huge video on the Kalam cosmological argument, and it got like 100,000 views. It is a big documentary in YouTube. It's called "Scientists and Philosophers Respond to the Kalam" with Alex Malpass and Daniel Linford. And William Lane Craig made a very long response to that in his channel, like many hours, and they went back and forth over many videos. So you can see, if you look at Phil Halper's channel, you can see the many responses of responding to William Lane Craig on this, on that. And William Lane Craig, you might say his arguments are bad, but maybe you're looking at only at the superficial debates that he has done with some atheists. But when you go deep into this, Craig has a lot of responses, for example, of why beginningless models, physical models for the universe are worse than physical models that posit that the universe has a beginning, or stuff like that. Like very deep. It goes very deep into the science, and it gets to a point where like it's not so easy to respond to that. Or for
Sure.
example, when he's going to make an argument against why the past cannot be infinite, like logical paradoxes, for example, the Green Reaper paradox or the
Mm,
Hilbert paradox, showing you why an actual infinite cannot be instantiated on reality. It's
mm,
not so easy to respond to that. Alex Malpass and William Lane Craig have a debate on capturing Christianity
mm.
about whether an infinite series is possible or impossible. It's very cool to watch. You can go very deep into the
Sure.
philosophy on this. Like you have to see when he gets deep. William Lane Craig wrote 4 entire books on
Mm,
the nature of time. Okay, like he
mm.
can go really deep into this, like nobody can really. He's the one
Sure.
who popularized this argument.
And that's something that I also recommend when I say don't just read what you believe in or what already agrees with you. You should read apologist books. Look into debates with apologist versus another apologist because you get some really good insight. Because if they're arguing with an atheist, there's talking points that they can bring up. But when they're arguing with one of their own and they disagree on something, they really do have to buckle down. Because
Yeah,
they can't take the same, I'll call them cheap shots when they try to go against atheists, because their audience likely already agrees with them, so they can just reaffirm that. But when they're arguing with another apologist, they don't have that same kind of backing. They don't have that same kind of assurity that their audience agrees with them automatically in that regard.
yeah. Chris is asking, is there such a debate? Yeah, mostly you see this on, for example, Catholic versus Protestant issues. Like
Mhm.
those debates are super common, right? There's a big discussion within Christianity,
Mhm.
right? What else? I don't know what else. What are debates?
Sure. I
Yeah.
did see, speaking of capturing Christianity, I saw him, and when it was happening, Rationality Rules, I saw they had like an email debate or kind of where they argued the Kalam and they just
Yes,
made
yes.
videos back and forth. That
They
was
have a
kind of neat
series
to
of
see.
videos back and forth. Yeah, yeah. I saw that
Yep.
too. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, Greg Kokel. Yeah, the minimal facts. Gary Habermas is the minimal facts guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although you're looking into, you got to be careful because then you also have like J. Warner Wallace. So saying that they're the most dishonest, there are more dishonest, I promise. I give ratings at the end of all my videos for those that haven't watched the end. Most of you have, I'm sure. I give ratings where I think, is this, how good of an argument are these apologists making? And I don't think the best score I've given was a 6 out of 10, where 10 is the absolute worst. So I give it a 6, which is the best. Yeah, Frank Turek.
Yeah. Frank
Yeah.
Turek is not that good, I think.
Yeah, it's very much appealing to your own side, appealing to people who already believe, to reinforce that belief rather than looking at what's actually happening. Um, yeah. So I mean, there are good videos of apologists to watch. Whether I think the apologists themselves are making good points, to William Lane Craig, I think he uses a lot of complicated language. That if you sit and you can break it down, not everyone, I argue that not everyone can really sit and really focus, as I haven't done for all of his books. If you can sit down and put it into more plain language, it gets a little easier to see why one might disagree with it, or why I would think it was wrong, or not just not wrong necessarily, but not correct. So underdetermined at best. But it's that he does hide behind a lot of philosophical language. Whether he does that intentionally or unintentionally is not the point of that. He might be trying to express a nuance that lay philosophers don't quite get, and that can make these deeper books, these deeper meaning books, tough to read. And people who aren't very big buffs might lose interest because they're so dense, and you have to read and you have to interpret and you have to stop and then reinterpret and reread and go, and then read the next line and go, oh, does this change what the last line said? And language is really fun like that, we'll say. Yeah, he definitely is very polished. And so you have to be able to pick out exactly what's being said. But that's kind of the point with a lot of apologists. He's just definitely better at using philosophical language than other apologists. And there's something to be said for that. He is a very intelligent man. I'm not downplaying his skills and his knowledge. He's a philosopher, and he's going to talk about philosophy. And if you're not well versed in philosophy, stuff's going to go over your head. He's going to use words that you just don't know, and you have to stop and look them up if you want to catch an inkling of what he's trying to say. Let's see. But what do I mean by believe? That's Jordan Peterson. But what do you mean by believe?
Yeah. That guy is.
Yeah.
That guy is a pain in the ass to debate, I think, because
Sure.
he's a lot of dodging, a lot of
Yep.
I'm gonna give you a very abstract word that is very difficult to define, and I'm gonna ask you like randomly, okay, what do you mean by this? And that's it. He's just gonna pretend that he won the debate, you know.
Yeah, it becomes a semantic debate.
You know, yeah.
What do you know that mean?
Yeah. You know that clip of his famous video of 25 atheists versus Jordan Peterson, right? The part that got famous, the one when he's talking to Danny, and they kind of get a bit of the discuss. Danny says, "Oh, you're quite the nothing, right?"
Oh yes, you're really quite something. Well, you're actually quite nothing.
But you know, Jordan Peterson was. I think Danny may have gone a bit too far. He went a bit too personal there. I mean, he made a mistake there a bit. But Jordan Peterson was being ridiculously. He like Danny says, "Oh, but Christianity this and that." And then Jordan Peterson, like, "Oh, but I never said I was a Christian, right?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, in the general, where are we? It's part of the general knowledge. You are a famous Christian, and the video was called Christian versus Atheist. So how are you going to tell? Oh, well, I haven't said that I'm a Christian yet. Like, are you trying to dodge the issue like in such a dumb way, right? I mean,
and I don't know the rules for that, but I think. So the problem is the person he was talking to, and I don't remember his name. It doesn't matter. You said his name, and I've since forgotten.
Danny Filter.
Yes. I think Danny, what he really did wrong is that he didn't follow through. Like I think he was wrong for saying it because it was very confrontational and it's not something I would have said.
Yeah.
But since he said it, he should have followed through. And again, assuming this is within the rules, I assume there are rules in this kind of thing.
I assume there must have been some rules, right?
Yeah, but if when he says that and Jordan Peterson, okay, I'm done with you, he should have said, but I'm not done with you, and keep going. And then that covers that kind of covers up his mistake, we'll say, of going too far by saying, you want to run away? Okay, try to run from this. And then putting up that next point and that presses Jordan Peterson to either fold his arms and say, I'm not talking to you anymore and be a child, or address the actual point.
But he wasn't. Sorry. I was looking at the comment. He says, once you voted off, you have to leave the chair. Okay, but then he wasn't voted off.
Yeah, he wasn't voted off.
Jordan Peterson will say, no, I'm not talking to you, all right? Because of this, that's what happened.
Yeah. If you make a mistake, there are ways you can capitalize on your own mistake. And I think that's what he should have done. He should have recognized the situation, said, oh, he's very clearly running from me. He doesn't want to talk to me. He's running. And then press it. Because that's how you get more people on your side. Because, again, you either make Jordan Peterson address what you're saying, address your point, or you show that he's running away. And so he could have done considerably better even with his mistake. So, and that's another point, is that these debates get emotional, and even I get emotional sometimes, and I do my best to rein it in, which is why I prefer text-based debates, because I can recognize when I'm starting to get emotional and go, and when I reread my response, I go, oh, I'm a little harsh there. I need to dial that back just a little bit. It really does help. In verbal debates, it's not as easy. But I bring up Christopher Hitchens quite a bit when it comes to debates. He, like I said, arguably the best debater that on the atheist, anti-theist side. So I'm watching more of his debates because I want to lean more his direction, where I can be a little more of a firebrand. Because I'm very calm, I'm very collective, but I want more passion to come through what I say. And I think because I'm so chill, that the passion isn't always there when I want it to be.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is, but that's something where, again, tone matters.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't know, for the people who watched my video that came out yesterday, that's a big point, is knowing when to use what tone. And when it comes to slavery, be passionate, but don't show rage. And that's tough to know when to show that passion and when to hold back, because that's also a way that you win or lose debates, we'll call it. You win or lose supporters. Your side looks bad and people stop listening to you if you fold your arms like a petulant child or yell and scream at people, rage out at people. Even if it's justified, you're still going to lose people.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anything else you want to discuss?
No, I think I'm not sure I have anything.
Sure. No problem. So this was a good time. I really enjoyed this. So if you're up for doing this again at some point, I am up for it. We can hash out details later. And now that we kind of know how lives work, we can plan a little better.
That's important. That's right.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yes. And okay. So hang out for a bit. I'm going to end the stream in just a moment. So guys in the chat, thanks for coming and hanging out. I loved reading your comments. Thank you so much. And I hope to be doing more of these. And this is something that I've been wanting to do for a little while, is do these lives and get talking and get interacting with the audience, because I interact with people for my job. At teaching, I work with people who ask questions. I work with people who have to answer my questions. And I love to see this kind of interaction, this kind of back and forth, and the way that people absorb information. Because my whole point about doing counterapologetics is to see how people take in information. And once you figure that out, like, reaching them is so much easier. It's so much less work. And that's one reason why I went into the teaching that I did, is that I want people to understand better, and I want people to be able to communicate better. So if you guys have any questions, send me an email. One more time, Modern Atheist, where can they find you?
My channel is called Modern Atheism. Yeah, or maybe you can even add a link to the description later. I don't know if you want, or whatever. Yep. I think we did a collab also.
Yes,
maybe some months ago. Yeah, so you can just look it up. I would love it if people subscribe to my channel.
Yeah. So go ahead and go subscribe to Modern Atheism. We worked together on a video previously, and that was a good time. And it was a lot of fun. And so I hope we can work together again. So again, thank you guys so much in the live chat. I love reading your comments. And I will talk to you guys a little later.
Bye.